Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not to Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Season 2 finale of Gen V. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, we finally get our answers about what happened with Godolkin. I'd wondered two things. I'd wonder, was he a soup prior to everything going down, or did he become a soup afterwards? Really, it was actually the middle ground. It was him becoming a soup during that incident. I'd also theorized, I was like, oh, could it be he had mind controlled those other people if he was already a soup before that whole thing and had injected them, like tested the compound V on them? But it turns out no. In that moment, he was desperate. He's stuck in the lab, the fire and everything. He goes like, okay, I need to inject myself a compound V to save myself, to terrible consequences, because his skin started boiling. I think it was just a natural byproduct of his, like, the compound V, but then he also burned, like, he was in the fire from the lab is what put him in the condition he did. So he's been in that state for over 50, 60-ish years or whatever. He was stuck in that state. And we learned from Doug, actually, and we find out Doug wasn't the first one. In fact, Doug is the second person that has been Godolkin's puppet. In fact, Doug was used to kill the first puppet. And it's so sad when you see Doug, because he's in such a banged up state, like all the damage his body took last episode is catching up to him and stuff, and they're trying to take care of him. And the fact is, Doug is so appreciative. He's like, oh, thanks for trying, though. And it's like, oh my God, Doug. Doug seems like such a nice guy, poor guy. And obviously, Jordan understands better than anyone what it's like to have, like, Godolkin, like, take control of you. So they don't totally understand where Doug is coming from. But Doug talks about the fact is that Godolkin, the reason why he still looks so young upon Marie saving him is because he took the original recipe of compound. Because I think I'd even made that parallel too of like, oh, like the fact is he's still alive and stuff. I was thinking like, oh, maybe it's because of, like, you know, because I was like, some soups don't age, like Soldier Boy and Stormfront, but that's because they took the first version that was made by Vought himself. That first version gave them, like, immortality. Granted, we don't know, like, whether they have true immortality. We just know that they don't age. But the fact is that Homelander ages shows that obviously Marie will. So we don't know how many other soups are out there who took the original recipe. Maybe we'd find out in the prequel that has Soldier Boy and Stormfront. We'll find out if there are any other heroes alive still that have any. Because other than them, it would be Godolkin. Because I guess everyone else that took original recipe died in that room that we're aware of. Who knows who else might have, but like I said, gotten some of that. But answers a lot of questions on that front. We also find out the reason why he's always been pushing Marie and never, like, doing anything himself. Like, he has the power to compel her and take mind control her, but the reason why he doesn't is because he can't. She's so powerful, he can't. It also answers a question about Homelander too, and I'll get into that later as we kind of get into those discussions. But obviously, the big thing from this whole situation is Marie is beating herself up. I thought it was so interesting because she was like, I'm not special. She's like, even though I kept saying, like, I'm nothing special, I let what Godolkin say, like, still get to me. Like, him saying I'm special made me think, like, yes, I can be the chosen one. I am the hero. I can be the one to fix everything. And it's like, because of that, she took it all on herself, thinking, like, I am the one. I'm the only one who can. And in fact, you just unleashed a monster on the world. So that guilt is, and that's why, like, going forward, she's just like, whatever you guys wants to do, because she doesn't want to take charge, because all she's done is made unilateral decisions, whether it was, hey, I'm gonna break out of Elmira and leave everyone behind and not come back for them. That is a decision she regretted. Hey, I went off on my own and I thought I was getting Godolkin to help us. In fact, I was helping Godolkin, and now I've unleashed him on the school, and he wants to cull the entire, like, a large part of the superhero body at school, and as we learn later on, the entire superhero world. So it's understandable. This is kind of a low point for Marie where it's just kind of like, yeah, I feel like I messed up big time. And no one's trying to chastise her because it's like, right, you thought you were doing the right thing. Also, with everything going on, we don't have time to try and kick your back in for this. She also probably feels extra guilty because she used so much juice to like bring Godolkin back. I think probably like the worse the condition is, the more she has to push herself to fix it. But because of that, she wasn't able to help Doug. And so Polarity's going to just take him to a hospital, which, let's stay on that really quickly. I thought that was a really beautiful scene between them where he was telling him like, your boy Andre, he was great. He's like, he's the definition of a real hero. He tells him about like, he pissed off Godolkin at every chance he get. He would fight back. Somehow managed to piss in his coffee. He's like, that's who your boy was. Like, he was an inspiration, and you would be so proud of him. And I thought that was so beautiful because I think that's what he needed to hear. You know, it's like, my boy didn't go down without a fight. You know, it sucks that he's gone, but knowing like he was a hero through and through, trying to help his friends to the very end, you know? And then what happens? Doug gets stabbed. I was like, that sucks. After everything, the moment he was just kind of like being grateful that they're helping him, and you know he's like kind of treating life like a miracle. Ironically enough, so is Godolkin. But I was like, that sucks. Because it's understandable why they probably killed him, because he's a loose end, and the last thing you want is any secrets he might have, like because he was, you know, Godolkin, like he was there backseating everything that Godolkin was doing. So it's like he's knowledgeable about certain things, so he's a loose end that needs to be taken care of. But the moment I saw the sword, I was like, Black Noir, and lo and behold it is. I was like, damn. And him having to take the photo evidence of like, yeah, I caught him. Then we have the Sage and Godolkin, them hooking up, because he's finally back and she's so happy. And it is so interesting. We saw Sage in a way we've never seen her before. Obviously, we know she has to lobotomize herself to be with the Deep. We know that she didn't have to do that to be with Noir. That doesn't necessarily mean anything because it's just Deep is such a stupid piece of shit that it's like you have to dumb yourself down just to get your rocks off. You might not have to do that for Black Noir, but it's still the thing of he's still throwaway as well. Because we didn't get to see those interactions. So we don't know what they were really like. But Godolkin is where we see her really vulnerable. And it's so interesting because she's even like, I have this place in the tower they have me set up living in. You can move into. I was like, that's so... Because like she seems like, no one could ever be her equal. And for her to kind of be like, yo, you should move in. It's kind of like weird. And he's like, oh, no. He's like, I've never seen you this vulnerable. And I think that is a key factor in this entire episode. It's the biggest glaring hole in Sage's plan. Because despite everything, Sage might be the smartest person in the world, but it's like she still has her blind spot because love blinded her. She was so in love with Godolkin. She knew who and what he was, but she never factored that in because because she's so used to everything going her way, and she's like, right, we're in this together. She trusted someone rather than trusting herself, and I think that's going to make her go like, screw that, never again. I made the mistake of trusting someone in this moment, and it was the dumbest mistake. I won't make a mistake like that again because she's all about control because everything has always gone exactly according to plan. She even says like, oh, leaking the Odessa stuff to Starlight, Annie, and it just trickled and all the dominoes ended up falling exactly how she thought. But the one thing that she never calculated for was Godolkin going the way he did. Because he's like, oh, I'm going to go to class. And she's like, no, we have our plan. And he's like, because she's like, right, I need to introduce you to Homelander. We need to slow roll this because that man does not like competition. It's like you have to massage him a little bit to make him okay with you just popping up out of nowhere, being as powerful as you are. It's like, right, he doesn't like surprises, so we have to massage that. But Godolkin doesn't listen. He goes to class, puts on his big statement, which I even love Sage like, yeah, that's not how you announce yourself to Homelander, is by putting on such a big public display. But he's basically like, hey, we're resetting the rankings. All the students come on by. And you're like, oh, cool. So you're going to gather everyone in one place so it's easier to kill everybody, to cull the herd, as you said. So you're like, oh, boy. So that's where things stand on that front. But like I love that we saw Sage in a way that we've never seen her before. Because we're kind of thinking all of season 4, you're like, oh, nothing's going according to plan. Get to the end of the season, like, nah, man, everything worked out perfectly. You're like, holy shit. That's crazy. And it's like, oh, and now you're thinking the same thing's happening here, but then we see like, no, she does have a glaring blind spot, and it's her own feelings, because the human heart will always be like, you might be supers, you try to separate yourselves from humans, but you were human. You still are human to some extent. So it's so interesting to try and treat yourself better than humans when you are in fact human, that you have human emotions, that those human emotions can supersede and in fact impede your ability. That like, for whatever reason, you know, once again, know what Godolkin is, know who he is, and yet you still didn't calculate for that. And I don't think this is some trick or will reveal like, oh my God, she knew all along. It's like, no, she was legitimate, because she had no reason to act like that. Around Homelander, sure, because you're placating him, making think like, oh, like, oh no, like, I'm failing, you're firing me. So it's like, yes, it's all to like keep things going in the right direction. But like this, it's like she wasn't performing for anybody. That's just for us in the audience, for her just to be like, wow, she's really taken aback by this. So I'll circle back to the Godolkin stuff in a bit, but either way, I want to focus on like the Jordan, Kate, and no, it was Marie, Kate, and Emma of it all, where going back to earlier what I said, that Marie was like, I'm nothing special. It's like, I'm just still that girl who cuts herself when she's sad. And you're like, that obviously is like, not the epitome. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's just like kind of like sad that like she was kind of finding her way past that. Because like the last time she even considered doing it is before she met with Pam in episode 3. And then now it's almost like all that work to build yourself up. It's like, once again, like Godolkin gassed you up to some extent, and now like all that confidence kind of got shattered. And even Emma's like, no, don't do that to yourself. She's like, I'm the person that wants to throw up and eat 16 tons of pizza. And even there's a part of my brain still thinking like, oh, that's a good idea. But then like you have Kate being like, that's not you. And she's like, it was me and Elmira. And she even turns to Kate, like, you saw me. And you know, even I think Maria said it a few episodes back. I think it was like maybe episode 4 or 5, something like that, before they went to go save Kate, where she was like, you wouldn't even leave your room even when you were able to, Emma. And it's just like, and Emma's trying to tell her, like, we're all kind of fucked up in our own regards. And they all are. Like, they all are carrying baggage and trauma. But at the very least, it's like, whatever they do have each other. They're not alone. Like, and that's the beautiful thing of, like, they have all helped each other grow in their own ways. And because they have each other. And it's like, yeah, there's been some mishaps and complications along the way. Some, like, abandonment, some turning your back on one another. But it's like, we are here and we're better because we're together with this little tight-knit mixed match family. They all come from like fucked up family backgrounds, but those family backgrounds have led them to each other and helped them grow. We even have Marie giving Kate back her powers, because it's like, right, like, I forgive you. And it's like, I'm like, I think it's also because Marie was in Kate's shoes, but also Kate made that choice last episode where she was like, no, I'm not, I promised you I wasn't going to use my powers. Like, even under those circumstances, she could have gotten her powers back if she did what Marie asked her to, and she chose not to. So for her, it's like, that is proof that you have changed, that you are trying to change. We all are. It's like, who am I to judge you when I made the choice I made to? So like, I can't really, blame you forever for everything, because it's not just this Godolkin thing. Even though leaving everyone in Elmira thing while I went off to look for Annabeth, that's also on me too. It's her trying to take a lot of responsibility for the choices she's made, in between season 1 and season 2, and also the choices she made this season. So, but even though the rankings had been reset, Marie is still kind of number 1. She still has like a large following, so she tries to use that to warn people not to go to Godolkin's training thing. Emma and Sam try to warn Rufus, which are almost like, Rufus can catch it, which I was like, I almost thought like, oh well, you poor dumb bastard, you're gonna die. Surprise, surprise. Rufus, I did not expect Rufus to make it out of this. Another person I didn't expect to make it out of this is Allie. That was because I figured she'd be on the cutting room floor because of her power. So I was like, I figured as much. But like, I definitely thought Rufus was gonna bite it this episode. But yeah, like for him to roofie Sam and Emma. And then it wasn't even him. It was what's his face. I think looking at the credits, I think his name is Black Hole. Makes sense if that's his power. But him, he's the one that drew the. He's like, oh, like the fact is the whole Godolkin thing seemed fishy, so I didn't go. It's interesting too because like one of the key people we saw being like yeah about it was Justine. Luckily she didn't go, or maybe Marie's warning did kind of make her like, all right, well she is selfish enough to be like, well I'm not going to put my life on the line if it's really going to be that. So she definitely wasn't amongst the crowd that did go. To be fair, we only got through 2 groups before things went super pear-shaped for Godolkin's plan. Get to that soon enough. But either way, well, guys, I could just go ahead and jump into it. Is Godolkin like bringing everyone there? And he's like, oh, the reason why you're here is because you're failures. And the fact of the matter is, to prove whether you belong here or not, I'm going to need you guys to fight each other. He's like, I'm going to go to the other end of this and press the button. You have to try and stop me. Cool. And as he's walking, taking his time, it's because he's mind controlling. I thought he was playing hot potato like he did last episode, but it's like, no, he's actually pushing himself. He's actually controlling everyone simultaneously and making them like battle it out. But while he's doing it, the boils on his skin start popping up because he's pushing his ability too far, and he makes it to the other side. And he's like, cool, look at that. Like, the fact is, the reason why he's doing all this is because he talked about, helping soups evolve. That was always been like the magnum opus of what he was trying to accomplish. And he's like, cool, why don't I apply that to myself? Because he wants to push his ability, because the stronger his ability gets, the more likely he'll be able to control Marie. And if he can control Marie, he can control Homelander, which even Sage was like, you don't have to do that. In fact, Homelander is a part of our plan. It's almost like we need Homelander to be Homelander for our plan to work. But he's almost like, no, like it's almost like I have a new plan. But Sage is like, I want to do this with you together. And then Godolkin's like, we need music. It's like she couldn't get through him because he thinks himself, even though she is the smartest person in the world, he thinks, it's like, but I could tweak our plan. I can make it better. And it's like, but also at the same time, it's no longer about Sage. He wants to say this is for us and for us as a larger species, because for him, it's like, this isn't just about God, you. This is about the superheroes in general. Because he's like, someone like the Deep and Firecracker being part of the Seven, this is all because Homelander is the soft man baby that he is. That, like, if we need to nip that in the bud, he is the reason why the superheroes as a whole are filled to the brim with mediocrity. So he wants to nip that in the bud. And like I said, the culling isn't just going to stop at God, you. It's going to be worldwide soups he plans on culling. But you can see in that moment, like the moment Sage was kind of like heartbroken by like the decision Godolkin made, and she closed her eyes. I was like, that's the moment. In that one moment, she was configuring everything. It's like taking the plan that she had originally and changing it because she was just kind of like, cool. I think in that moment, she decided whatever happens to Thomas, probably not whatever happens to Thomas. She's like, Thomas needs to die. Like, she can't bring herself to kill Thomas because she's not in a position to do it, but she can orchestrate things that will ultimately lead to his death simply because she needs to remove him from the equation, because he's going to fuck up everything they had planned, so she's going to have to go back to the drawing board. To what extent, we don't know. We know that whatever she had planned, it involved her and Godolkin, and she needed him back at full strength, back in his original form, because she fell in love with him, but also, like, she needed him to be acclimatable for whatever she's got planned. Now, whether or not everything has to be scrapped, whether or not she just has to like tweak a certain things, or like, well, Godolkin played this role, and this role, I got to change this, or I got to take a certain person and put them in this place, here, and here. I'd almost wonder, do you think she's calculating for putting Kate, even though their powers aren't the same, there's enough similarity that Kate could fill that role? Probably not. But like, I think just for her, for at least right now, for what we know, she decided to get rid of Godolkin because it was like, he's too much of an X factor. He's gone outside of my calculation. So I'm going to calculate in removing him so I can recalculate what I need to do. So what was her next stop afterwards? Was to go see Polarity, who has to sit there and listen as Black Noir 2.0 ends up like critiquing his movie franchise or something he was a part of, because it's like, no, this and this, like, and I think it's probably supposed to be a little bit of like, I mean, any franchise, I'm sure, probably a little Star Wars, probably a little Marvel, a little DC, whatever franchise it might be that you're into, like where you're like, well, this contradicts this could have been a better ending. It feels like more like it probably would have been fit Star Wars, but once again, I'm not a Star Wars person, so some of that, like I said, is probably applicable to many franchises. But I love that Polarity's takeaway was, you can talk now? It's like, right, you're out of the loop. I mean, to be fair, no one in the general public is in the loop that that's not the same Black Noir. Even though, once again, the funny thing being, it's Nathan Mitchell, the same actor who's played him the entire time, just gets to, talk now. But yeah, Sage came in, and it was a really interesting conversation, because she's almost like, it's like, she says, you will die. Maybe not today, but it's kind of inevitability. So that's what I'm wondering, and I'd asked this previously, like, Marie cured Polarity for now, but if he pushes his ability, he'll end up in the same spot. I don't think that's completely gone. So I think that's kind of a thing of pushing his powers, he'll eventually die, but also just the mortality of humans, and even Soups. Not, Soups don't live forever unless you're, like I said, a Stormfront, a Godolkin, or a Soldier Boy. But even then, we don't know if they have, like, maybe they don't live forever. Maybe they live like 200, 300, 500. We don't know, like, the limit of, like, could they be potentially immortal if they don't, like, if nothing kills them, like, could they just be ageless forever? I mean, being immortal doesn't make you invulnerable. Those are two different things, so. But either way, Sage was talking to Polarity about his wife and son. It's like, she was almost bringing up the conversation of almost, was it even worth it? To go through the pain you went through, like, was life even worth it? So it seemed like she was drawing from her own situation of like, what's the purpose of love? What's the point of love when you're just going to get hurt by like someone dying or someone not meeting your expectations or failing you? It seemed like she was coming from like a position of heartbreak, and that was just her way to kind of also deal with the fact is that she was basically signing Godolkin's death warrant by like setting everything in motion. So I think trying to get some kind of answer out of that, I guess, I don't know. It's just kind of like the frailty of it all, of life, and just kind of like almost like, what's the point? So it almost feels like maybe we're going to be dealing with a completely different Sage by the time we get to The Boys season 5, because she will just be like, right, her heart was playing a major role in her doing all that she was doing, like, because Dolkin and her feelings for him are a part of the reason why it all happened. But to kind of have that all undone, it's just kind of like, fuck it, like, I'm gonna stop caring about people. I let someone into my heart, and look what happens. It fucked everything up. So no more. Screw it. I'm not gonna get tied down by another person, because what's the point? It's all just gonna go shit anyway. It all comes to an end. There is no, like, nothing lasts forever type of mentality. So once again, nothing happens by accident except for the Godolkin stuff. Everything else always goes away. She plans, so she leaves the door open enough for Polarity to make his escape. So while that's happening, our characters are coming together to see this through, because knowing what Godolkin is doing, because like at least one of the people that died during that first group was Lisa, poor Lisa. But other than her, like, well, there was like 2 or 3 other. There's a few other dead bodies, but Lisa's the one we saw, and they pointed out and gave her a name that we knew, like, oh, Lisa's the one that, like, the fireball thrower, like, that she died. But yeah, like, Godolkin was ready for round 2, and that's when, like, Marie and the others come in. But before that, Marie and Jordan had their moment where, like, Marie's like, hopefully you forgive me, and Jordan's like, no, I forgive you, but I just can't be with you. It's like, we could just be friends, because it's a complicated thing, because I think Jordan's kind of done enough, like, hating for this season, just because it's like how she dealt with Marie leaving her behind before, how she felt about Kate. She kind of forgave them, and it's just, she just can't take it. The whole, like, back and forth with her and Marie, because she's like, every time we take a step forward, we somehow always manage to end up where we were before. It's like, I'm tired of it, and it's just like, we should just be friends. Like, this isn't going to get us anywhere. This isn't good for either one of us, so we're just better off as friends. Which Marie's like, no, we could talk about this, but shit hits the fan, and it's time to like enact their plan. So Marie goes in. So is Black Hole. He snuck in there too in the second group, and then partway through the fight, because Marie's like, "Yo, I'm going to kill you if you don't let everyone out of here." So he's mind controlling everyone, but because he's so focused on mind controlling everyone, Black Hole shits out every one of our heroes. They tussle. I even love like the that one guy in front of Emma. Well, first and foremost, Emma being able to control her powers more. I always say that weird, more better. Able to control her powers better, where she grew and literally just kicked Godolkin. But then, like, you have Sam and Greg punch that guy from opposite ends, and they kind of look at each other like, huh. You know, I love stuff like that. But ultimately, like, you know, we have Allie and Harper. Allie wrapping up Godolkin, and then Harper taking control of his power and being like, and you got to give it up to Harper's power. I think I guess the innate nature of her power lets her meet. I mean, and I think they did a really good job of like planting that seed. Like, oh, she immediately got control of his powers. Like, we see that because when she mimics people's powers, she immediately has a really good understanding of them. Because we saw with oh god, Emma's powers, that she immediately was able to grow and shrink on her own without much fuss, even though, like, and even Emma commenting like, wow, you can use my powers better than I can. So they already planted to see that she's already able to do that. So I think that's kind of neat. I think it's just an innate part of her mimicry ability. It's maybe on some deeper level you could be like, she just immediately understands any superpower she mimics. But either way, she was able to control Godolkin, shatter his control, and got everyone out of there before the time limit was up. And then Marie was like, yo, I got you. You're going to die. But Godolkin's like, thank you. And in that moment, he takes control of Marie, because the whole thing of, you know, pressure turns coal into diamonds, right? So because he pushed himself so much with his powers, the desperation and fear, because even he was like, oh, it's a little thrilling. The fact is that Marie almost came so close to killing him in that moment, like elevated, his powers leveled up in that moment, continuously using them, and the threat of, you know, self-preservation, the necessity of self-preservation kicked in, and he was able to take control of Marie. And I'm like, yo, I was like, there's no way this is going to go down like Annabelle's vision. Maybe if things went the way, well, that I wonder, who knows? Because even Annabelle said, like, I said Annabeth said her visions don't always come true, but it's like they come true enough that she was freaked out and she doesn't want to like sit on the sidelines and worry that something could go wrong. So I'm curious what happened in that original vision. Like, what was the lead? Like, what were the dominoes that led to that? Could it be that like things played out this way, where Godolkin did in fact take control of Marie's body and she popped everyone, but it put such a strain on her body that she fainted and passed out, type of thing? Because up until this point, it seems like Godolkin had only like continuously used humans, like Doug, and maybe the guy before Doug might have been a human. We don't know. But maybe. But either way, like, he has control over Marie and plans on killing everybody. And you're just like, there's no way this is going to happen, right? Like, I mean, it's like, is someone going to get popped in this moment? I'm like, there's no way. Luckily, Polarity shows up and, like, slams him into, like, the brick. And I love Marie comes over and just, like, pops his ass. I'm like, fuck yeah! Like, it's the first time. It's funny enough, like, it's just like, it's just like Elon earlier in the season. So I was like, oh, and I love it. She's like, yeah, thanks for the upgrade, asshole, or something like that. It's like, oh yeah. And she says like, right, that's for Andre. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Blew up the top part of his body. So, because she's only ever blown up like, because it's her first time like fully blowing up a suit, kind of pulling a Marie. I mean, sorry, a Victoria. And obviously her powers work differently from Victoria because she doesn't have to do the whole. She doesn't even have to do her hands. She doesn't even have to look at you the way Victoria did. Like her powers manifested and work a little differently than Victoria's. But yeah. So in that moment, he's dead. But Polarity's like, yo, you gotta go. Vought's gonna have a whole lot of questions. There's no human Dean like Indira from season 1 to put this all on. So we have to nip this in the bud here. Like, he's planning on staying behind. And I love, and it's this really beautiful moment where Emma's like, so this is a suicide mission. He's like, it was initially. He's like, because I couldn't find a way to how to live on without my son, but now I can. Like, I know he's with me as long as I'm here. And he's like, I don't plan on dying. And Emma's just kind of like, and it was actually really sweet because they bonded this season. I mean, Emma's the reason why. It's so beautiful that it's like Andre was a major inspiration for Emma, and Emma ended up being a major inspiration for Polarity. It's like it all kind of came full circle in so many ways. And Polarity trying to tell her, no, I promise you, I'll get in touch. And and she's even scared too because she's like, I don't know if you're actually going to keep that promise. I was actually halfway scared. I'm like, yo, is Homelander going to show up this episode and just kill Polarity or whatever? But no, but a lot of this will still fall on him. But a lot of the characters we come to know are still staying. So like Greg is staying behind. Emma kissed him goodbye because it's like he has to stay for his sister, but it's like, yeah, you stay here, you fuck shit up, still part of like, the Starlighters and the Resistance. So they take off. And then, Marie has that moment with Annabeth of, we can just take you back to Pam, but for her, it's like, no, this is where I need to be. It's where she wants to be because, it's just like, right. And especially Marie taking those words that Annabeth had said earlier in the season, a couple episodes back, to use back and saying like, right, you'll be away from danger. I just want you safe, and you won't be safe with us, with me. Because, but Annabeth kind of regrets that and just kind of like, no, like I'm with you all the way through. Like, you're going to need my precog abilities no matter how much they suck or whatever. But then they get a visit from Starlight, who found out, right, this was all bullshit, but you guys handled that pretty well, the whole Godolkin thing. Time to join the Resistance. And it's like, and Emma's like, well, we got our own Resistance, but we could do a merger. And it's like, but how did you find this? And she's like, well, I think she was like, I just checked like the power in like the general area. Plus she had a little help. And she was like, that took about 30 minutes. And then we see A-Train roll up. I legitimately got up and I was like, fuck yeah! I was like, hell yeah, of course A-Train was going to be a part of this fight. He convinced Mother's Milk to get back into this fight. So I think when everything went down at the end of season 4, like, because the last time you see him is episode 7, and then you find out, like, at the end, like, oh yeah, after he left and was trying to take Ashley with him, he took his family and disappeared. But like he told Mother's Milk, there's no getting away from this fight. So he came back, and knowing, like, makes you wonder, like, who else is a part of this Resistance? Because we also don't know, like, what happened. Like, we know the boys all got captured, but we don't know if, like, in that time frame in between season 4 of The Boys and season 2 of Gen V, or just any time we haven't seen Starlight, has she been able to rescue anyone like Huey or Kimiko or Frenchie? Because we still don't know, like, only person that would know is Kate. But even then, like, maybe she wasn't filled in on everything, because I'm sure whatever roles they all play is something that Sage had set in motion, because we still got to go into her phase 2 and everything. So all the while, like, our heroes are heavily closing in together. So I'm curious how involved the Gen V squad will be in the final season of The Boys. And I brought this up too, of like, I don't know if like Sage is going to be like, will she survive season 5 and continue to be like a threat, or just some entity out there? Maybe she steps up to become like a main antagonist in the world of The Boys, or maybe she just kind of falls to the background. It all depends on how things play out. Does Homelander find out all that she was orchestrating, her connection to Godolkin, what she was pulling on Gen V, or not? She wants to keep him in the dark as much as possible, obviously. How will he react to the Godolkin thing, especially because that's been removed, so she probably doesn't have to worry about how Homelander reacts to that, because it's kind of a moot point now that Godolkin's dead. So hell of a season finale. The episode just dropped, so, well, today, probably like dropped last night, but it's like Wednesday at the time of recording this. This should be going up tomorrow, Thursday. So there, at the time of recording this, there's nothing that has indicated whether or not there is a season 3. Eric Kripke has said like, yo, we have plans for season 3, but it comes down to viewership. So he wants people to just watch the show. Like, the numbers are important. That would determine. Like, obviously, we already know the 5th and final season of The Boys, but what the future of Gen V is post that will just all be dependent on whether or not the show gets another season. So hopefully it does. Fingers crossed. Love the show. Love this cast of characters. I'm not only just excited to see where it goes in relation to the final season of The Boys, but also just where these characters end up when they come back to their own show. Like, what is God You going to be like? Because none of that will probably be really touched on in The Boys, because that's not as important to them. Yes, stuff that happened in God You plays a larger role, but God You as a whole, as an entity, like what happens there, polarity, those storylines are going to be saved for Gen V's future. So we'll only get answers in Gen V in that regard. But we also have no idea what those next set of stories will be for Gen V, what's next for these characters in their own story, and like what role their story plays in a greater, will it be kind of like a Infinity War Endgame, where it ends up being kind of like a, let's kind of go back to ground level, like we're kind of picking up with season 2, fitting it into the narrative, like let's get this locomotive going, we're at the home stretch to the end of The Boys, but like, maybe we come back down even more grounded again like season 1, and not be as intertwined to the world, but not as like building blocks for season 4, like this is building blocks for season 5 of The Boys. Maybe season 3 just is like, no, we're just set in the world, but we're going back to being a smaller story post everything. Once again, it also is severely dependent on what the state of the world is in at the end of The Boys. So a lot of that has to be considered. Fingers crossed for season 3 of Gen V. I'll be excited to see what the future holds. And also I'm excited, like I said, to see what the final season of The Boys has in store for us. But I've run my mouth off long enough. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.